German Doner Kebab wishes you Ramadan Kareem. Enjoy your doner after dusk with us and choose from the original Doner Kebab, the KCAL, the Doner Crunch Burger, or perhaps the Boss Box and so much more. You can find your nearest GDK at GermanDonerKebab.com or bring the Ramadan experience to your doorstep by signing up for your Ramadan pack at RamadanTentProject.com. German Doner Kebab. Kebabs done right.
You might take a lot of wrong turns before you find the right path. Wrong is wrong, even if everyone is doing it. Right is right, even if no one is doing it. But if you take the wrong turn, come back quickly. Stay with me in this blessed month through Light the Right Path with Happiness every Sunday from 1:30 to 2 p.m. May Allah accept all our good deeds. Ini Al-Qadari.
At Ramadan FM, we're dedicated to bringing you non-stop spiritual boosters, and this year we're giving you even more ways to listen live. We're launching our brand new YouTube channel where you'll be able to watch all your favorite presenters and shows in real time. You can even watch from your smart TV. So head over to our YouTube channel, Ramadan FM, and click the subscribe button so you never miss a thing.
For a list of all our sponsors, please visit RamadanFM.com.
Ramadan, 87.9 FM.
Welcome to the Business, Finance and Economic Show with Adil Hashmi.
نرضي الناس بما لا نرضاه لنا حالا ذاك جمالنا يسمو يتعالى
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Ramadan Kareem to you all, and welcome to Ramadan FM on 87.9 FM. You can also listen to us on www.ramadanfm.com and from our Facebook page at Ramadan FM. My name is Adil Hashmi, and this is Business, Finance and Economic Show live from Milton Keynes. As a quick introduction, let me tell you a bit about myself and the format of the show. I'm a fellow member of Chartered Certified Accountant, FCCA, with Masters in Accounting and Financial Management. I've been working in commercial industry as a finance professional for over 10 years now. I'm very excited to be part of this show, and the team has worked extremely hard to launch this radio station during these difficult times. Thank you to all of the team who are involved in making Ramadan FM to go live this year. Allah has once again given me and you the opportunity to be here and experience this month of Ramadan. This month is a gift from Allah to the mankind, and we should use this gift to reignite our deen, our taqwa, and seek forgiveness from Allah. Allahumma innaka afuwan tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. Oh Allah, you are most forgiving and you have forgiveness. You love forgiveness. Please forgive me. The format of the show is pretty simple. We will shortly be joined by newscasters Manha and Sarina, who will cover business updates around the world. I will then discuss one or two topics every week, depending on the time on hand. Every week, we will then be joined by a young person to read us a story. We will analyze a story and draw meaningful conclusions. The aim of the show is to inform the wider audience and involve our young ones. You can still get involved and connect through our Facebook page, which is at ramadanfm.com. Feel free to ask questions on the page, share your knowledge or comment. Today, I'm going to cover two topics mainly. And if the time permits, I will try to complete those topics. If not, then I'll take these topics to next week as well. So the first topic that I'm gonna try and cover is the state of the UK economy. And the second one is going to be the importance of zakat and sadaqah in Islam. They're very important topics. We get bombarded with a lot of information about the UK economy for the last year or so. And especially in this month, a lot of people do charities, so zakat and sadaqah, and how does it impact on your finances? For now, I'm going to hand over to our news experts, Manha and Sarina, to cover the business updates around the world. Let me just check whether Serena is in the stream. Yeah, I can see her, and Manha is here as well. So please welcome Manha and Serena. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum all and Ramadan Mubarak. My name is Manha Hashmi and this is
Serena Harris. Ramadan Mubarak to you all.
How are you keeping, Serena?
I'm doing very well. How's your fasting going?
It's going good so far.
Great, mine are going good too.
So, we are here to cover you all with business updates around the world.
Such as?
Well, let's start with retail business news. Shops were finally opened across England on Monday 12th of April. Shoppers rushed back as high streets reopened in England and Wales. High street footfall had nearly doubled from a week earlier as queues formed outside branches of Primark, JD Sports and TK Maxx, and retailers extended their opening hours. Beauty salons, barbers and pub gardens also reported a surge in bookings, but it is unclear if the demand will last as shops try to recoup lost sales. Primark boss Paul Merchant said, "We have been working really hard to get our stores ready to open safely. We are fully stocked with everything our customers have been waiting for."
Great news for retailers as they open their doors after a lengthy lockdown. Do you know how much it cost British retailers in lost sales due to lockdown?
No, I don't. How much?
Lockdowns have cost nearly £22 billion in lost sales, and many retailers were unable to survive this lockdown, like Arcadia, who own Topshop and Topman among some of their brands.
Hope retailers recover from their losses during this ease. But we need to be careful whilst going to shops. Do you know about the airline industry?
What's the update for the airline industry?
The world's airlines need another $70 to $80 billion of government support to get through the crisis caused by the coronavirus pandemic. That's according to the head of the International Air Transport Association, IATA, which is the trade association for the world's airlines.
Now that the long-awaited restart of international travel in England risks being derailed by queues of many hours at airports, according to a senior executive at Heathrow, the few passengers currently arriving at the UK's busiest airport often spend well in excess of 2 hours and up to 6 hours getting through passport control. Chris Garton, Heathrow's Chief Solutions Officer, told Parliament's Transport Select Committee on Wednesday.
Wow, these are some major delays.
Yes, they are. Is there anything you can tell us about the NHS?
Here is some information on the NHS budgeting. Harkness, a professional worker at the NHS, says she thinks it is inevitable that taxes will rise to keep funding the NHS. She suggests that older people who use the NHS most should be taxed more, rather than placing the burden on young people.
She says it's also vital to combine the NHS and social care budgets. If you cut £1 from the social services, you're essentially cutting £5 from the NHS. It costs 5 times as much to look after somebody in the hospital as it does in the care home.
Interesting. Here is some information on the trade between the UK and EU. It partially recovered in February after a steep drop in January following Brexit. Official figures show exports in the EU jumped by 46.6%, 3.7 billion to 11.6 billion pounds, following January's 42% slump when firms struggled with new trade rules.
However, the Office for National Statistics said exports were still below last year's levels, and imports from the EU had seen a weaker recovery. Other figures from the ONS showed the UK economy grew by 0.4% in February. The UK statistics body said the economy was still 7.8% smaller than a year earlier, before the impact of the pandemic.
In other news, the head of the World Bank has warned world leaders against setting a global minimum tax rate for companies that is too high. In an interview with the BBC, David Malpass said he did not want to see new rules that would hinder poor countries' ability to attract investment.
In terms of Bitcoin, mining in China is so carbon intensive that it could threaten the country's emissions reduction targets, according to new research. China wants its emissions to peak in 2030 and has plans to be carbon neutral by 2060. The cryptocurrency's carbon footprint is as large as one of China's 10 largest cities, the study found. China accounts for more than 75% of Bitcoin mining around the world, researchers said.
The study was written by academics from the University of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Tsinghua University, Cornell University, and the University of Surrey. It was published by the peer-reviewed journal Nature Communications. Without appropriate interventions and feasible policies, the intensive Bitcoin blockchain operation in China can quickly grow as a threat that could potentially undermine the emission reduction effort taking place in the country, it warned.
Hey Manha?
Yes?
I bit all of my quarters, and now I have a whole lot of Bitcoin.
That's some great humor.
Anyway, the 21% global minimum rate called for by US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen strikes me as high, he added. Officials said on Wednesday they hope to reach a global tax deal by mid-year.
Ms. Yellen has said a global minimum tax on companies is necessary to stop a 30-year race to the bottom, which has seen countries slash rates on companies in an effort to woo business investments. She is in favor of having all countries agree to a minimum tax rate of 21%. Meanwhile, the US, under President Joe Biden, is seeking to increase its corporate tax rate to 28%.
To US lawmakers, Ms. Yellen has made the case that establishing a global minimum tax would allow the US to remain competitive despite that increase. The UK is also looking to raise taxes on corporations from 19% up to 25% in 2023, in what would be the first increase since the 1970s.
And that was a little context about tax.
And here to conclude, we will be going through some currencies.
For every £1 sterling, there are 1.38 US dollars, 150.49 Japanese yen, 1.15 euros, 1.73 Canadian dollars,
212.12 Pakistani rupees, 5.08 UAE dirhams, and 1.27 Swiss franc.
Thank you for listening today.
I hope you all enjoyed it.
Once again, Ramadan Mubarak, and
we will see you next week, inshallah. Also, please have a look at Royal Girl DIY videos.
We will put the link in the chat.
Allah
Hafiz.
Thank you both. Very informative business update there. And speak to you guys next week, inshallah. After the break, we'll have Maisha with us to talk us through the story, and then we will draw conclusions from the story. For now, for the next 10 minutes or so that we have before the break, I'm going to try and cover the UK economy and how is performing in this time of depression. I'm just going to check the stream and make sure everything is okay on the stream. Good. Okay. So to understand the UK economy, we have to compare and contrast it to other times of depressions. In recent times, we have seen depressions of 2008. Those of you who were there, they remember that depression, the market crash, the mortgage market crash as well. And the recent times, that's last year, 2020 to 2021, because of the COVID pandemic. So as Manha and Sarina both covered, that the UK economy actually grew in February, despite pressure from continuing government COVID restrictions. And business adapted to lockdown. On the top of this, you would have, if you remember, we did Brexit. So there was double pressure on the UK economy, where there was and EU exports staged a partial recovery. So not only last year we had COVID restrictions, we were also working on the Brexit policies. So lots of confusion for the businesses. There's a UK body called Office of National Stats. They've said that gross domestic product, which is GDP, has actually gone up by 0.4% in Feb from a month earlier, as economy showed some signs of improvement after a revised drop of 2.2% in Jan. You guys must be shelled at home with lots of depression, downturn, inflation, and job loss information. While some of it is actually true, this does not give you the overall story and does not certainly give you the overall picture. The stats that I'm giving you so far, I've given you so far, as you can imagine, I've only talked about the UK economy has gone up as compared to a decline. So the context behind this is that when you look at the economy, you just don't look at only the job losses element or the depression time. You look at the end-to-end story. So despite the toughest lockdown measures since the first wave of COVID remaining in place, retailers in the UK recorded a pickup in sales, while growth in car production fueled a rise in manufacturing activity after a poor Jan, and construction grew strongly. Just a reminder that construction didn't really completely close down, and there was a huge government incentive there not to shut down the construction industry, which was constant there. So, however, the economy remained smaller. 7.8% of the economy remained smaller before the pandemic struck, which is the BAU. So BAU is that we were doing well, things were going fantastic. After 2008, market came back. So it's unfair to compare it to 2019 or 18 or even 17. There are other economists who said that the improved performance came as business household adapted to restrictions and started making prep for controls to be relaxed after the government announced its roadmap for existing lockdowns. Now let's compare the two lockdowns. One in 2008 and the other one in 2020. According to the ONS, productivity, which is the labor productivity, multi-factor productivity, and public service level productivity, decline in the first half of the 2020. And that's largely as a result of government restrictions to limit the spread of the COVID, as we all know. Output per hour, which is one of the measures that gets used, and the multi-factor productivity, MFP we call it, is declined in the first half of the year as a result of gross value added falling more than hours worked during the first lockdown. With businesses having to adapt to the new situations, both increased though in Q3, which is the July to September period of 2020, as restrictions were eased, largely because of shifting distribution of industries that continue to operate. We have seen that the rise of e-commerce, we have seen the rise of delivery operations. So whilst there are industries who took a huge impact, other industries gained a lot out of this. They grew rapidly. And e-commerce is one of the fine examples of where the industry went to. It became a huge success story of 2020. With the reintroduction of then restrictions on economy activity in Q4, which is October to December in the UK last year, output per hour declined again as gross value added recovered at a slower rate than the hours worked. And this is again as a result of the shifts in economic activity between the industries. So as I said, one industry, you have an output drop, other industry, you have an output increase. And some industry are not as demanding of hours than others. So you may have a manufacturing industry where the hours are required, huge labor hours are required, as compared to a tech industry where you don't need high value of hours, you need expert value of hours. So these stats, when you look at these stats, you almost compare last year in 2008 to this year, and you start thinking that the productivity has dropped. It's just a shift of the industries. These changes contrast with the long and slow fall and recovery experience following the economic downturn in 2008. The fall in public service productivity was much more severe in 2008. PSP, we call it public service productivity, fell by 0.5% during the economic downturn, whereas in 2020, the initial estimate was something like 15.4, but it didn't really drop by that much. So this is because of changes in the composition of public services as well to combat the effects of coronavirus. There was a huge effort put into public service, especially NHS, and in the composition of public service to combat these variants which do not occur in 2008, because 2008 was a complete different crash. Government spending actually increased in 2020 as compared to 2008. So there's a bit of disparity between the two, because whilst the hit in 2008 on the public sector looks higher than 2020, you can actually see why is that hit very high. It's high because the investment gone into the public sector. In the PwC, which is a recognized audit body, they project the UK annual GDP growth of 2021 is between 3.4 and 4.6% under the quick recovery scenario. They expect the economic output to remain 3.1%, which is below pre-pandemic levels for sure, but experts expect the economy to contract by 2.6% in Jan anyway, as predicted by the various models that they have done, before gradually returning back to growth, which we have seen in Feb, and then we have seen it in March. And then last week, when the retail market opened, that recovery became even bigger. The expected annual GDP growth rates kind of between 4.4 to 5.6 in 2022. That's the expectations of the growth at the moment. It may slow down to 1.2 in 2023, but the growth in 2022 is likely going to be the spending spree that the consumer will have to do, because at the moment you can imagine the consumer is also restricted to go out and spend a huge amount of money. And once the abnormality goes away, when consumer goes out and spend their money in the market, you will see a huge increase, and then it will go down to the normality. And then under the quick recovery scenario, which PwC has done, 2022, which is next year, is very important for us because there's a lot banking on this year. In the UK, as an example, I'm just giving you a circus number now, 120 billion cumulative savings have been recorded, where household spending is expected to drive that money in to the economy. So imagine 120 billion pound worth of money that was regulated in the market or circulated in the market in 2019, 17, and the previous years were not spent in 2020 and not spent till now. Why they were not spent? Because of the restrictions in place. People were definitely buying online, but the online was not the only place that people wanted to buy. We human beings like to experience things, and therefore invest on the experience. So I think I'm gonna try and conclude it after the break. There is an ad break coming to it very soon as well. What I'm going to be doing after the break, I'm going to summarize the stats that I've given you. We're going to have Maisha to read our story first, and then we'll summarize this, and then I'll hopefully touch on my second topic, which is zakat and sadaqah. So please stay with us, stay tuned after the break.
To all of our wonderful listeners of RFM, thank you so much for your support. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless each and every one of you during this blessed month of Ramadan. Stay locked for more amazing shows. Amazing shows.
There are over 1 billion people in the world who do not have access to clean, safe drinking water. Every 90 seconds, a child dies from horrific waterborne diseases. Awarded the UK's Best Muslim Charity of the Year, Muslim Global Relief has been providing water to villages, schools and remote communities for over 20 years in 40 countries around the world. Build a water well or hand pump in your name or a loved one today. Make a 100% zakat donation. Visit muslimglobalrelief.org.
Ramadan Mubarak from Adam Accounting Services.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Need help with your accounts and tax work?
Contact us today on 01908 692 380 and see how we can help.
Adam Accounting Services. Friendly local accountants. Call us today on 01908 692 380.
Families Relief are working on a special Ramadan program that needs your help and support. Whether you would like to donate zakat, sadaqah, fidya or fitrana, your Ramadan donations will help us distribute food and clean water to impoverished families in needy countries like Pakistan, Yemen, Syria, Palestine and Africa. Help us to help them survive this Ramadan. Donate now on 0114 365 4454 or go online to familiesrelief.org.uk. Together we can save lives.
Allah has bestowed us with another Ramadan. Its days are the perfect time to help the suffering Ummah with our supplications and our charitable giving. Make the difference with UK charity Ummah Welfare Trust by supporting its emergency, development and Ramadan programs. We are part of the Ummah, and the Ummah is a part of us. So be generous and donate for our brothers and sisters this Ramadan.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Abdul Rais. I've been presenting the health show on Ramadan FM since 2009 during the holy month of Ramadan. I shall be presenting the health show once again this year, inshallah, every Saturday between 6 and 7 p.m. Please join me for the health show this year once again and listen to the experts talk about various health issues every week. So that's the Health Show with Abdul Rais every Saturday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Venture into the world of Islamic literature and writing with our new show, Ramadan Reading Retreat.
Aisha, Rumaisa and Sharza will bring to the airwaves all things bookish, from e-readers to the dog-eating debate.
Join us as we discuss topics such as our Ramadan reads, modern Muslim publishing, transformational books, and reading in the modern age.
Everyone is welcome to our retreat every Saturday at 3 p.m.
For a list of all our sponsors, please visit ramadanfm.com.
Ramadan, 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 87.9 FM.
Welcome to the Business, Finance and Economic Show with Adil Hashmi.
نرضي الناس بما لا نرضاه لنا حالا ذاك جمالنا يسمو يتعالى.
Welcome back to the show. As I said before the break, I now have Maisha with me, who's going to read a story to us, and then we will analyze the story a bit after once she's gone through the story. Here you go, Maisha.
Thank you, Baba. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Maisha Adil Hashmi. Today, I'm going to read a story about the treasure house. A long time ago, in the land of Egypt, there lived a tribe known as the children of Israel. Among them, there was a man called Karun or Korah. Allah made Karun very rich. Karun had a huge treasure house full of gold and precious stones. The keys of the treasure house were huge and heavy. Many strong men were needed to pick them up and put them in the lock. At that time, a king called Pharaoh ruled Egypt. He was a very cruel king. He hated the children of Israel. He was very mean and unkind to them. Karun began to work for the cruel king. Soon, he became his minister. Now, he was not only rich, but also very important. He started to look down upon his own people like Pharaoh. He was cruel and unkind to them. People said to Karun, "You are rich, but you should not be proud because you are rich. Allah does not like proud people. He does not like people who do not share things with others." Karun said, "I am clever and I am intelligent. That's why I am rich." He did not fear Allah. He showed off his fine clothes, his jewels, and his palace. Some people were impressed with Karun. They said, "Karun is very lucky. We wish we were as rich as him." But people who loved Allah said, "Allah knows best. He knows what is best for us. And in the end, it is the prizes Allah gives us that are the best." Then a terrible thing happened. The earth opened up and swallowed Karun. It swallowed Karun and his riches and his treasure house together with its huge keys. Seeing Karun's terrible end, people said, "Allah gives much to whom he wants, and he gives little to whom he pleases. Everything comes from Allah. We were wicked. We wanted to be like Karun, but Allah is most merciful. He did not punish us. We should be happy with what we have." This punishment of Karun or Korah is a great reminder to believers to be pleased with Allah and thank Him whether they be rich or poor.
Thank you, Maisha. Thank you a lot. MashaAllah, a great story. And a reminder for us all that any benefits bestowed upon us by Allah only belongs to Allah. We should be thankful to Ar-Rahman for what He's granted us, whether it is money, wealth, health, life, etc. My aim was to then kickstart the zakat and sadaqah after this because it's linked to the story. But let me conclude about the UK economy in the next couple of minutes, and then I would like to touch on the topic of zakat. So just to kind of do a quick summary. So the government spending will start to wind down as various government support schemes will end, such as furlough. But the output in the healthcare education will be strong in 2021. Business investment will still be cautious in this year due to continued uncertainty about the Brexit, about various deals happening across the world, and the weak balance sheets over the past year or so. We also anticipate a sluggish growth in the UK-EU trading in the short term, as businesses take their time to adapt to this new trading environment. But as a resumption of the economic activity and spending across the world will boost the trade once the uncertainty goes away. We know that businesses and even the stock market reacts to uncertain scenarios because people who are investing or people who are doing business, if they do not have clarity on where, how are they going to maneuver their trade routes or what documentation do they need, they tend to be in more defensive in terms as compared to being more offensive and investment point of view. However, there is still significant uncertainty over the pace and path of recovery, I must say, including the spread of the vaccine rollout, removal of this uncertainty. There are key risks, include the duration of the current lockdown and the ease of the lockdown that we are seeing across the globe. And obviously the key in this is the trade agreements between the EU and the UK, and the trade agreements between the US and the UK, because these are going to be the biggest trading partners going forward. EU is already our trading partner, which is quite large, and we had a history. This break of marriage has allowed us to took a break out of this and reassess ourselves. So we are hopeful, and a lot of economics are hopeful as well, that once we come out of this, we will reignite this trading. So overall, UK economy has performed far better in this recession than in 2008, which is the nearest recession that we have experienced. The growth is on path. We just got to be hopeful and show positivity toward the growth. Whilst I appreciate a lot of people may have lost their jobs, and it's sad to see that happening, industries are shifting. So whenever industries shift, they move from A to B. Tech goes up, or telecom goes up, or logistics increases. Other industries may suffer. This is a common trend we have seen in years and years and years, where one industry could take a hit of a situation while other take a benefit. Is nothing to be afraid of. I think what we as skilled individuals need to do is to reassess our skills and understand whether that's something now is required in the market, and make sure that we always keep ourselves up to date. So a lot of positives are out there in this time of dire confusion and the bombardment of the news that the world economy is collapsed and this is the end of the world. It's certainly not the case. And there is a lot of predictions from a lot of experts from PwC, Office of National Stats, and a lot of other organizations who are predicting strong growth. So that was my quick summary of the UK economy. If you want to know more about the stats, please visit the ons.gov.uk. It's a website, government website. All information is there. You can have a look at it, economic charts, etc., to understand yourself if you wish to do so. Or you can go into one of the PwC websites, and they have an economic insight, because these are the bodies whose job is to sit down and analyze these informations. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the topic of the zakat, but I think it will be not be justice to the topic itself in the 15 minutes or so. So I'll give you whatever I've got in the next 10-15 minutes, and then we'll take it to next week as well, because it's a very important topic in the world of Islam. Today, this is an extensive topic, and my aim is basically to make sure that we remind ourselves about the zakat and sadaqah and the importance of the zakat and sadaqah and its obligations as well. So I'll make a start then, and hopefully if I finish it, fantastic. If not, then I'll cover it next week as well. So zakat is an important form of religious mandated charity under Islam. It is the third pillar of Islam. The giving of zakat is important for Muslims, as this leads to purification of their wealth from all sins. The role of zakat is an instrument of social justice and poverty eradication in the society. Each Muslim calculates his or her zakat individually based on what payment they've made in this year, and it's 2.5% of one's capital after the needs of family has been met. The actual calculation are available online. There are organizations who can help you work out these zakat calc. One can donate additional amount as an act of voluntary charity, but zakat itself is a fundamental to every Muslim who can meet its obligation. I'll talk you through who is obligatory is it to pay zakat. Zakat is the Islamic contribution to the social justice. As I said, those who have to give charity to share the benefits of their prosperity to those who have fallen short. This is Islamic approach, and the intent is to remove the greed and envy and to purify one's soul based on the good intention. This is the institution of zakat in Islam. The institution serves to uphold the light of Islam, as Allah says, whatever is paid as zakat for the sake of Allah shall be rewarded in many folds. A core part of Muslim faith is giving charity and supporting those who in need, who are less fortunate. So both zakat and sadaqah are based on helping others, basically. Although there are key differences between them, zakat is one of the 5 pillars of Islam and is obligatory upon Muslims whose wealth is held above the nisab. Sadaqah, on the other hand, is not obligatory. It is simply a kind of gesture made with an intention of helping others in the name of Allah. So a quick understanding of what exactly is zakat. Allah says in Quran, chapter 2, verse 110, and establish prayer and give zakat, and whatever good you put forward for yourselves, you will find it with Allah. One of the 5 pillars of Islam, and officially meaning that which purifies. Zakat means that which purifies yourself, purifies your wealth, person more than others. It's like you work in an organization or a company. Some people have more access to their company's wealth, but that's not their wealth though. They are just management, or they're just managing on behalf of that business. So imagine this concept. That's why zakat is an obligatory payment that carries its own set of expectations and requirement. Allah says in Quran, this is chapter 9, verse 103, of their goods take zakat, so that you might purify and sanctify them. There are 2 key categories of zakat. Zakatul Fitra and Zakatul Mal, which is the wealth. Fitra is an obligation upon all Muslims, which must be paid at the end of this holy month, Ramadan, before observing the Eid prayer. The required amount of zakat is approximately 3 kg of staple food in the relevant country, or the amount of money that is equivalent to the price of food. Zakatul Mal, which is the wealth and possession zakat, now that has classification, slightly more complex than just simply Zakatul Fitra. Zakatul Mal is 8 categories, top made. So zakat for income, salary, zakat for business, zakat for savings, stock, gold, silver, agriculture, poultry, etc. One of the requirements is that you must hold enough wealth to meet the nisab, which is threshold, a value which is calculated from 87.48 grams of gold, or roughly 612.36 grams of silver. The minimum amount of zakat you must give is 2.5%, which is, and there is no upper limit. You can go out as much as you want, but this is the minimum, 2.5, and only a specific group of people that can receive zakat contribution. So according to the Quran, the poor, the hungry, those responsible for distributing zakat, those in captivity of slavery, those living with unmanageable debt, those who fight in the name of Allah, stranded, strugglers, travelers, Muslims, new Muslims, and friends of Muslim communities, which are also Muslims. So these are the categories where zakat can be distributed to, because it's a very specific obligation, unlike sadaqah, which you can give out to your intention. There's a wide community. You can give out sadaqah pretty much to everybody, to anyone who you see fit. Zakat is different. Zakat is obligation. Allah made zakat more specific and obligatory. It must be given annually, as long as you held money exceeding the nisab, which is the threshold, for the previous year. And when you choose to give it to you, upon you, many Muslims choose to give zakat during Ramadan, often in the nights of Ramadan. There is no ruling on this. It's entirely up to you. When would you like to give zakat? As you hit your nisab in one calendar year, wherever you are calculating from, or two. Some people believe that zakat is obligatory and should be given out there and then as it gets due. Some people say that you can hold a zakat till Ramadan hits. So it's entirely up to you. However you can calculate a zakat from A to B. And if you want a detail, please speak to your scholars, the people who can give you detailed insight on the calculation of zakat itself. Zakat is there to strengthen the Muslim community, the Ummah, by redistributing wealth to the poorest of our society and ensuring that they get resources wherever they need to live. Whilst sadaqah is an voluntary act of righteousness or kindness that is made with no exceptions for anything in return. There is no minimum amount of sadaqah. Again, there is no maximum amount as well. There is no requirement to give it on a regular basis, but sadaqah will purify yourself. It will make your wealth more pure, and it will increase your taqwa. So if I were to split the sadaqah, I would probably do it in two kind of key areas. Sadaqah itself is considered, obviously, there's a short-term gesture if you want to give to somebody else. And sadaqah jariyah, which is a gesture that you give to a long term. So there's a short term, there is a long term. Short term as a one-off payment to A, B, or C, And Jariya is continually, you are funding a family or you're funding the needy. There is no requirement to what you need to do to fulfill this requirement. This is just in your understanding of the two concept of the zakat and sadaqah. Both gestures carry great reward in this life and the next for the giver, but the effects of zakat and sadaqah are even greater for the receiver. Giving sadaqah and zakat are both ways that help you get closer to Allah, and by practicing regular charity, you can improve your own well-being and find peace and happiness in this life and hereafter. By giving charity, we also show to Allah we are grateful for the gifts He has brought onto our lives. And obviously following the way of our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad is the best example of regular giving charity, and would often give to those who had nothing of their own when he himself was hungry. By making regular sadaqah, you are following in the footsteps of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then setting good example in life of your own children when they see you. So it is very important for you to keep continually giving zakat and sadaqah, but in your mind you need to be clear of the differences between the two. In the interest of time, I'm just going to conclude this session with what does it bring to the overall world by giving zakat and sadaqah. The Islamic social order is based on principles of equality, justice, brotherhood, and the concept of freedom and responsibility. Muslims must accompany the observance of his or her salat with the payment of zakat, being an important component of Islam as established by Quran. Additionally, financial reports should enable Muslims to determine zakat liability, ultimately achieving social economic justice. Given this and the emphasis on the full disclosure, it is suggested that the current value balance sheet should be included as a part of reporting requirements of the firms within the Islamic economy. So overall, zakat is a fundamental obligation in Islam as long as you hit the nisab or the threshold. Sadaqah and zakat both increases your taqwa. And what better month have we got than Ramadan to engage in sadaqah and zakat, where our deeds are multiplied over and over again. So I encourage you all to engage in this zakat and sadaqah. I will try and cover some of the additional complexities of zakat and sadaqah in my next topic, which is next week, Sunday, between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. same time. And I'll also bring additional topic on the discussion panel as well. This concludes the session. Thank you for all listening to it. Fi amanullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You are listening to RamadanFM.com.